I never expected to unveil Iya Benji's heart-stopping secret. It changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I sat there, my breath caught in my throat as the world around me melted away. Iya had always been the spark in our group. Her laughter echoed through the hallways like music, brightening even the darkest days. But that day, a shadow fell over her, and I felt it rush in, sweeping me along with it. We were at the old diner, the kind with cracked vinyl seats and a jukebox that barely worked. The smell of greasy fries hung heavy in the air, a comfort I craved in that moment. I watched Iya from across the table, her fingers trembling as they traced the rim of her glass. Her eyes, usually so warm, seemed distant, clouded with something I couldn't name. Was it fear? Anguish? My heart raced. Then, everything changed. The door swung open, and a gust of wind sent a shiver through the room. In walked a stranger, tall and cloaked in shadows. He had an aura of danger, the kind that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Aya's gaze darted to him, and in that split second, something flickered in her eyes. Panic? Recognition? I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to know what she was thinking, what this all meant. Iya leaned closer to me, her voice a mere whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 secrets. You can't tell anyone, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Not yet. My heart raced. What was she hiding? Was there something lurking beneath her vibrant exterior? Just then, the stranger turned his head, locking his eyes onto Iya. They were sharp and penetrating, as if he could see right through her. Iya flinched, a visible shiver coursing through her. The silence in the diner thickened. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The air turned electric, charged with unspoken words filled with urgency. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him, cutting through the tenuous silence. My breath quickened. This felt like the start of something dark, something unspoilable. Aya's hand clasped mine, trembling. We need to leave, she breathed, her eyes wide with fear. A lump formed in my throat. What did she know? What had she gotten herself tangled in? Just as we stood to go, the stranger stepped closer, blocking our path. Iya, he said softly, but it felt like thunder rolling through my chest. Our eyes met, and I saw desperation, regret, and a raw kind of fear. I desperately wanted to shake her, to ask what was happening. But the words wouldn't come. Iya moved closer to me, her whisper barely audible. You don't understand, I have to protect you. The weight of her words settled in my bones, leaving a chill that gripped my core. What was she protecting me from? The tension was suffocating. Everyone else in the diner had gone silent, eyes glued to us like we were the main act in a carnival of horrors. Why were they staring? Did they know something I didn't? Iya, what I started, but she squeezed my hand tighter, cutting me off. Whatever you think, you know it's worse. My mind raced with possibilities. What secrets had Iya kept? The fear and urgency in her eyes spoke volumes. Could I trust her? Could I trust the man looming before us, the harbinger of some hidden truth? And then, with a suddenness that made my heart leap, her phone lit up, vibrating violently on the table. The screen flashed an unknown number. Iya froze, eyes wide and full of terror. My heart sank. This was it. The moment where everything could unravel. I took a step closer, feeling the heat radiating between us, a mix of fear and adrenaline. Iya, please, she drew in a shaky breath, and for a moment, I saw her resolve wavering. But before she could speak, the stranger interrupted, his voice firm and chilling. You need to tell her, Iya, before it's too late. In that moment, the world fell away. Time stopped. My heart raced, teetering on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the inevitable plunge into chaos. The air was thick with secrets, and I was desperate to know them all. Everything felt heavy, but I knew this was only the beginning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, Smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The diner felt like a cage, the walls closing in on us as Iya stood frozen, caught between the unknown and the need to shield me from it. Her eyes darted back to the stranger, who advanced with an unsettling calm. Each step he took mirrored the heavy beating of my heart, a frantic rhythm that pounded loudly in the taut silence. I could barely think. All I could do was focus on Iya, her quivering form, the warmth of her hands still enveloping mine. Tell her what? I managed to croak out, fear clawing at my throat. The stranger paused, uncertainty flickering in his gaze for just a moment. It was as if he was deciding between revealing a truth that would shatter Iya or protecting her from it, and putting us all in deeper danger. Iya, he said slowly, his voice dropping to a low rumble, it's not just about you anymore. If they find out, stop. Iya shouted, her voice sharp and broken. Just stop. You don't understand. The diner burst back to life, the sounds of plates clattering and conversations murmuring. It felt like we were trapped in a bubble where only our turmoil existed. I reached for her, desperate to pull her back from the edge of this precipice. What's going on? Please, just talk to me. Her eyes brimmed with unshed tears, and for a moment I saw the girl I knew, a fierce friend, a fearless ally before the shadows consumed her again. I can't, she whispered shakily. If I tell you, that'll put you in danger. Danger from him? I pointed at the stranger, my voice trembling with accusation. Or from whatever secret you're withholding? The stranger leaned closer to Iya now, his expression changing. You need to trust me, he murmured, urgency lacing his words. If we don't leave now, a fatalistic tone filled the air, sharp as glass. The hairs on my neck stood up as goosebumps broke across my skin. I couldn't process the scene unfolding in front of me. Iya, the girl with laughter that sparkled like sunlight, was facing a hidden past that threatened to swallow her whole. I'm not leaving without you, I said firmly, twisting my hand in hers. There had to be a way through this, some doorway leading back to the warmth Iya had always bathed me in. In that moment, a small flicker of hope ignited in her eyes, but fear quickly dampened it. The stranger's reaction told me everything I feared about our impending fate as he stepped toward us, quickly invading our space. Listen to me, he said, low, voice laced with urgency. They know where you are. You're not safe here. Not anymore. Aya's breath hitched. You can't mean just trust me, he said, his voice strained. This is bigger than all of us. The urgency in his tone triggered something deep within me. My protective instincts flared. Iya deserved to be unburdened, not crushed beneath the weight of the past she withheld. We don't have to do this, I said, anchoring my gaze on Iya. We can leave right now. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. She hesitated, torn between desperation and a fierce need to protect me. I pushed forward, willing her to see the truth that resided between us. You're not alone. You never were. Just then, an explosion of chaos erupted behind the stranger. The diner door burst open again, but this time, it wasn't just the wind that rushed in. A group of men in dark jackets entered, scanning the room like predatory wolves with malevolent glints in their eyes. My stomach dropped as fear pooled in my veins. Iya, we have to go! I shouted, adrenaline urging me to move. The stranger turned to face them, his expression morphing into one of grim determination. This way! He barked, beckoning us toward the kitchen exit. Aya's fingers tightened around mine, each pulse full of urgency and unspoken fear. As we rushed forward, I could feel the heat of their gazes boring into us. Don't look back. Just run. We barreled towards safety, or at least the illusion of it. Whatever secrets Iya guarded so tightly now felt like a heavy anchor dragging us down into darkness. As we burst through the door into the back alley, I turned back for just a moment, catching the eye of one of the men. In that instant, a silent promise passed between us. I would uncover the truth and face whatever lay ahead. Where are we going? Iya gasped, breathless but alive with fear and adrenaline. Somewhere safe, the stranger said, his tone brooking no argument. But you need to trust me. As we sprinted into the night, I felt a new weight settle over USA collective fear that bound us in a brave, broken moment. Just when I thought we'd escaped, the stranger paused before another corner, yanking us to a halt. Iya, we don't have much time. You need to tell them what you know before it's too late. And there it was, the truth hanging in the air like smoke, waiting to blot out the light of our friendship forever. The world felt like it was spinning off its axis, and I knew now, we were immersed in a reality from which there might be no return. The alley was suffocating, the walls cold and unyielding as we pressed ourselves against the rough brick to catch our breath. The distant sounds of sirens echoed like an ominous prophecy, reminding us that we were being hunted. My heart pounded in synchrony with the pulse of fear that radiated between us. Iya stood beside me, her body trembling not from cold, but from the weight of unspoken truths. Just breathe, I whispered, forcing my voice to be steadier than I felt. The stranger hovered nearby, glancing back toward the mouth of the alley, his expression taut with anxiety. Iya, he urged, his tone low but insistent. You have to tell them everything. It's the only way to stay ahead of this. A glance exchanged between us then felt like a chasm that yawned wider with every heartbeat. What could be so devastating that even in the face of danger, she felt this reluctant to share? I took a careful step closer to her, hoping to chase away some of that longing to retreat within herself. Iya, please, I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and pleading. Whatever it is, we can face it together. You're not alone. Her gaze flickered, battling between grief and a fierce resolve that seemed instantly extinguished. I never wanted you to find out this way, she muttered, fear brimming in her dark eyes. I thought I could protect you by keeping this hidden. Protect me from what? I pressed, feeling the frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. Hiding the truth won't keep us safe. It's only making it worse. The stranger's intense gaze darted back and forth, clearly agitated but understanding the gravity of the moment. Iya, time is running out. You have no idea what they're capable of. Just tell her, now. Suddenly, the echo of heavy footsteps reverberated through the alley, striking terror into the very marrow of my bones. Aya's breath hitched, and without thinking, I grabbed her hand tighter, a silent promise that I would not let go. Iya? The urgency in the stranger's voice cut through the noise. You won't have another chance. They won't stop until they get what they want. A flicker of determination ignited in her eyes, battling against the shadows that had long since settled there. Okay, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll try, but promise me, you won't abandon me. I promise, I said fiercely. But no more secrets. We'll face this together. With a determined breath, Iya began. I was born into a world that she faltered, dread freezing her words. The stranger stepped closer. You don't have to go into all of it now, just the essentials, what they want from you. Iya closed her eyes tightly, gathering her strength. They're after me because of my father. He was involved in something dangerous, something that he tried to bury when he left us. I thought we were safe. Her voice, once so vibrant, now trembled like a fragile leaf in a storm. But they found out I exist, and they won't stop until they find me. They think I hold the key to what he hid. The vulnerability in her confession hung in the air, heavy enough to crush the hope I had clung to. The pieces of the puzzle began to align in my mind, each fragment splintering off a memory that made sense now. The late-night conversations, the way her laughter could suddenly shift to a shadow of sorrow. Why didn't you tell me before? I challenged, betrayal coating my words. You let me in the dark when you could have trusted me. I thought I could keep you safe, Iya replied, her voice thick with emotion. How could I risk your life for my past? Iya, we're in this together now. The words slipped from my mouth with an urgency that burned. There's no safe here any longer. The footsteps loomed closer, the anguished reality of our circumstances tightening like a vice. The dread settled in my stomach as I felt the stranger's hand grip my shoulder. We can't stay much longer, we have to move. Iya, her defenses faltering, bit her lip and nodded. Yet, just as we turned to flee deeper into the shadows, a figure emerged from the dim light, a woman with piercing blue eyes and a stony expression, standing defiantly. At the alley's end, "Iya!" she called, her voice echoing with an authority that sent chills through me. "You can't run from your past. I know what you've done." The stranger's grip tightened, his face hardening at the sight of her. "We don't have time for this," he snapped, pulling us both back into the depths of the alley. But the woman stepped forward, her eyes never leaving Iya. "Doubt I am not just here to drag you back. There's something you need to understand." Just like that, the air grew thick with unspoken tension, and one question hung above us like a storm cloud ready to burst. What then had Iya done? We teetered on the edge of a revelation that could shatter everything. As the woman's words lingered in the stillness, the ground seemed to shift beneath my feet. This danger was far more intricate than we could have imagined, and by the time Iya spoke again, she might not be the only one facing a reckoning. The silence stretched painfully as Iya's eyes locked onto the woman at the alley's end, caught between a whirlwind of recognition and unshed tears. The stranger braced himself, tension radiating from him as he moved to shield us both. Iya seemed to tremble not just with fear, but with a wave of memories crashing into her like an unforgiving tide. "What do you want?" Iya's voice came out measured, but the quaver gave away the fragile state within her. The woman stepped forward, her features softened but her resolve intact. "I'm not what you think, Iya. I'm not here to hurt you, I'm here to help." "Help?" Iya echoed, incredulous. "You've chased me for years. Why should I believe you now?" "Because," she replied sharply, "you need to understand what your father did, and why they're after you. It's not just about you being his daughter. It's about legacy, something he left behind that could change everything. They'll kill to get it. My heart raced at the other implications woven into her words. Killing. Legacy. Aya's father had cast a long shadow, and now his past was threatening to consume her future. "That's not my problem," Iya shot back, her voice gaining a renewed strength. "I'm not involved in his reckless choices." "Then you're as good as dead," the woman said, her voice unwavering, but the flicker of compassion behind her cold mask was undeniable. "The way they think, your existence is a threat. You need to make a choice, confront your past, or run forever, and I fear you won't last long on the run." A lump formed in my throat, caught between the truth of her words and the desire to shield Iya from all of this. I shifted closer to Iya, desperate to lend her my strength, my presence a silent oath that I'd stand beside her no matter what came next. "Is that why you never told me?" Iya whispered, her cracks beginning to show. "You thought if you kept me in the dark, I'd be safe. Your father wanted to protect you too, but look where that got him." The woman's voice softened for an instant, and my chest tightened, hoping she might reach the tender heart deep within Iya. "Listen to me. They will find you, and I can help you get the information you need to stay alive. We can find the key to all of this before they do. You expect me to trust you?" Iya scoffed, yet the vulnerability in her eyes betrayed her growing uncertainty. "In times of desperation, sometimes the unlikeliest alliances are the most powerful," the woman said. "I came here seeking you because I believe there still may be a chance for us to change the narrative. Trust may not come easy, but losing you would be a bigger tragedy than anything your father knew." A flicker of panic crossed Aya's face. "What do you know about tragedy?" But before the woman could reply, the distant sound of sirens came closer, their wailing a grim reminder that urgency was slipping through our fingers. I squeezed her hand, desperate for her to believe me when I said, "We need to know everything if we're going to survive this." In that moment, the unthinkable unfolded. The stranger's gaze darkened, and he muttered, "We can't stay here." He looked from Iya to the woman, and back again, weighing not just their words, but the weight of our very lives. "All that you hold sacred is at stake," the woman shouted, her voice now filled with an unmistakable zeal. "This isn't just about you anymore. They're coming for you, but what they really want is far larger. This legacy is cursed, and unless you confront it, it could spell doom for us all." "I won't go back, I refuse," Iya cried out as she seemed to crumble under the weight of that oppressive history. Then, before I could react, the stranger pulled Iya into his arms in a protective embrace, her face colliding against the fabric of his jacket as her body shook. "You can't run from this anymore, Iya," he murmured, and I felt the wave of emotions crash down on us, raw and unfiltered, a moment of connection in the face of chaos. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed from the mouth of the alley, resonating through the escalating tension with an unexpected warmth. "Hello, sweetheart." I turned in shock, my heart plummeting to the depths of despair as a figure stepped forward, a face I knew all too well, a face I thought I'd lost forever, me mother, standing there as if the fabric of reality had unleashed some haunting truth. "What are you doing here?" Iya gasped, breaking free from the stranger. Shock turned into a whirlwind of emotions as my mother stood before us, her eyes filled with sorrow and urgency. "You need to listen to me," she implored, fear etched across her features. "Iya, everything is connected, and time is running out." In that heartbeat, as revelations twisted together into a knot I could scarcely comprehend, I knew the truth. The danger was deeper than all of us. And I was left standing on that precarious precipice, terrified of what would be revealed beneath the crumbling facade of our intertwined fates. The sharp intake of breath from Iya pierced the air as the gravity of our circumstances pulled us deeper into confusion. My mother, the woman I thought I would never see again, stood before us, fragile yet determined. The flickering alley lights illuminated her face, where every wrinkle told a story of heartache and concealment. I could taste the salt of unshed tears on my lips, and my heart drummed a ferocious beat within me. "I need you to trust me, Iya." My mother's voice quivered as she stepped forward, creating a bridge between our worlds. "You don't understand what's at stake, not just your life, but the lives of everyone who has crossed paths with your father." "The past doesn't define me," Iya spat, her vulnerability retreating behind her fiery resistance. "You think I care about whatever mess he left behind? I've spent my life trying to untangle myself from him, then you will be its prisoner." The woman raised her hands as if to soothe, but her intensity only lifted the tension higher. "You think you can ignore this legacy? It has its claws in you already. But why now? After all these years?" Iya turned toward my mother, her eyes filled with questions that dared not be spoken. The cracks in her veneer began to fracture more visibly. "Why did you never come for me?" My mother's face fell, a shadow of regret shrouding her features. "I made choices to protect you, Iya. Your life was in danger, and I had to disappear to keep you safe." But now she hesitated, swallowing hard against the tide of emotion. "Now you have to know the truth." "The truth?" Iya echoed bitterly. "Is that what this is? A truth that binds me to a past I despise?" She took a step back, distancing herself from both women, the stranger and my mother, while I stood paralyzed between them. "Iya!" I squeezed her hand, my voice frantic. "This isn't just about you anymore. It's about all of us. We need to listen." Before Iya could respond, the sound of rapid footsteps shattered our fragile moment. An unsettling urgency washed over us as the stranger's eyes widened in alarm. "We have to go, now," but instead of retreating, Iya faced my mother with defiance. "If you care so much about the truth, then tell me everything. Show me how he hurt us." The panic in my mother's gaze flickered like a candle in the wind, yet she wouldn't back down. "It's not as simple as that. Your father was roped into a world of dark dealings, Iya. He knew things, secrets that were never meant for anyone to discover. They called him a liability, a burden that needed to be eliminated. When you were born, they became more desperate. I had to keep you away to keep you safe." "Safe?" Iya stepped back incredulously, her voice rising. "By taking my mother away? By pretending I didn't exist, Iya?" The stranger shouted, his voice a command that echoed off the walls, planting seeds of urgency in our hearts. "We can debate history later. Right now, we need to escape." Just as the tension reached a breaking point, sirens wailed close by, slicing through the dark like jagged glass. The alley felt smaller, the shadows seemed to loom larger, as if the very walls were closing in around us. "I won't let you drag me back into your chaos," Iya shouted, shaking her head, a rebellion igniting in her spirit. She turned on her heel and dashed deeper into the shadows of the alley, and instinctively, I ran after her. "Iya, wait!" I yelled, my heart pounding in tandem with fear and dread. The last thing I wanted was for her to face this reality alone. But the moment I turned, the alley swallowed her figure whole, leaving me stranded between uncertainty and the screams of destiny. My mother and the stranger followed close behind, urgency pushing us towards the blur of night that had turned cruelly against us. But I couldn't shake the hollow feeling in my core, the fear that Iya was on the brink of unearthing her father's darkest secrets without the guidance she desperately needed. And just as we reached the street, pulling Iya back seemed insurmountable. A nearby cafe's neon sign flickered erratically, drawing our attention. On the cafe's window was a message scrawled in fogged-up glass. The hunter has now become the hunted. A chill coursed through my veins, an icy promise of betrayal. What if Iya was not just running from the past, but also running straight into a trap set by someone we trusted? My heart skipped as a shadow loomed on the edge of the street, lurking like a specter, watching, waiting, an embodiment of danger lurking behind our very truths. Come on! I shouted, sensing that our time to act was dwindling, the hunter closing in. But in that moment, everything changed. My mother's expression shifted significantly as she recognized the shadow creeping closer. No, it can't be you, she whispered. And just like that, the atmosphere grew thick with foreboding. The heartbeat of truth quickened, and from the depths of uncertainty, an unexpected figure emerged, sending shockwaves through my soul. Someone we never anticipated, carrying secrets far deeper than our fears had prepared us for. Aya's footsteps pounded against the pavement, each stride pulling her further into the unknown. I sprinted after her, desperately trying to bridge the growing chasm between us. The neon cafe sign faded into the distance, but the rising tension and the insidious promise of an approaching danger remained. The stranger was right behind us, urgency exuding from his every pore. Iya! I called, my voice almost swallowed by the night. She didn't look back. The resolve I once admired in her morphed into something reckless. Please! Just stop! Fury and fear battled within me, each emotion pushing me to either chase after her or turn back to face my own uncertain future. But I chose momentum, refusing to let Iya tumble deeper into a void of her father's past that could consume her. As we rounded a corner, Iya skidded to a halt. Ahead, the silhouette of a figure stepped into the dim light, the familiar shape freezing her in place. I recognized them too, and my blood ran cold. Tomas? Iya whispered incredulously. What are you doing here? The man's face was drawn, the lines embedding within it like the creases of a long-used map. Iya, this isn't safe. You can't be here, he urged, his voice low and urgent, as he glanced over his shoulder. The stranger gripped my arm, pulling me back just as the cafe door swung open violently, releasing an echo of laughter that felt like the sound of mournful bells in the heavy air. There was a chill sweeping through the street now, like the turning of pages in a story I wasn't ready to read. Tomas, you need to tell me what you know, Iya demanded, her voice ringing with steel, courageous yet trembling at the edges. Everyone has been lying to me. You were close to my father. You can't just stand there. You have to explain, Iya. I wish I had better news, Tomas said, shaking his head slowly, regret weaving through his every word. But your father's not just some ghost of the past. He is very much alive, and that makes you a target. Target? I blinked, reeling from the implications. Aya's expression shifted again, confusion punctuating her fierce disposition. What do you mean? Tomas took a cautious step forward. You have to trust me. I know the people chasing you. The same ones who hunted down your father. They think if they can get to him through you. He trailed off, his eyes dark with regret. For a moment, the world around us faded into a muffled blur, my thoughts spiraling into a chaotic frenzy. The words about her father hung in the air, heavy with dread, igniting a flame in Aya's chest that flickered between the desire for the truth and the fear of becoming a pawn in someone else's game. Get away from her. The stranger's voice snapped me back to reality, a protective barrier thrusting between Iya and Tomas. Yet a sense of understanding washed over me. I could see the remorse in Tomas's eyes as he regarded the man protecting Iya. You don't understand, he pleaded, desperation cracking his steady facade. This is exactly what they want to separate us. We must stick together if we're going to survive. Survive. The word hung like a storm cloud above us. Before Iya could respond, a sudden clamor erupted behind us, heavy boots pounding the pavement like an approaching tempest. We had already run out of time. We need to move, the stranger urged, his face now framed with determination, taking charge. Away from here now! I felt Iya hesitate again, her heart waging its own civil war. In that brief moment of stillness, the gravity of the situation pressed against us all, a reminder of the choices that would shape our tomorrow. But just as I turned to usher Iya away, the air grew thick. Shadows twisted around us, morphing into ominous shapes, and from the darkened alley emerged a haunting figure, someone I never expected to see. Isn't this a family reunion? The voice slid through the night like sharp glass, and everything inside me shattered. My heart lurched as the figure stepped forward, revealing an all too familiar face. My mind raced through memories I had long since tried to bury in the deepest recesses of my soul. Memories now resurrected by the unexpected presence of Iya's estranged father. It's time we had a talk, Iya. Before I could move, Iya's eyes widened in shock, and the connection with her father sent the world spiraling back into chaos. The possibilities loomed like darkness, threatening to engulf us as the confrontation slipped into unfamiliar territory, ripping through the fragile threads that connected trust, hope, and our very lives. As whispers of the past intertwined with promises of peril, we stood on the precipice of choices that would either tether us or tear us apart forever. Iya staggered backward, a mix of disbelief and confusion shadowing her features as she stared at the man who had made her life so complicated from the very start. "You," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "You've been alive all this time?" "Alive and well," her father replied, his tone a deceptive calmness that grated against the tension thickening the air around us. "I've been waiting for the right time to come back, Iya, but now they've found you. I had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Do you even understand what they did to us?" She shot back, anger propelling her voice. "You left us. You let us believe you were dead, and now you show up like this. Iya, please," he urged, desperation seeping into his tone, slicing through the remnants of the night. "I did what I thought was best. Trust me, it's more dangerous than you know." But even as he tried to reach out, the weight of his words suffocated me. I felt like a marionette caught in strings I had no power to trim. Iya's father, this was the man pulling at the seams of our lives, beckoning us into an intricate dance of past wounds and present dangers. The stranger shifted next to me, his unsettling gaze locked on Iya's father, a fierce guardian ready for conflict. "You don't get to dictate the terms anymore," he said, his voice a low growl. "Your actions nearly cost her life once. They want again. Enough." Iya's voice reverberated between us like a thunderclap, summoning our attention back to her. "I want to know what happened. I can't keep living in the shadows of lies. What did you do?" For a fleeting second, silence enveloped us, a precarious pause that stretched like the first crack of dawn, promising clarity even amidst a night fraught with storms. Her father exchanged glances with Tomas, a silent understanding passing between them that set my heart racing. "I'll tell you everything," he finally said, his expression tense yet resolute. "But you must understand, revealing the truth means putting you at risk. The people behind this, they won't stop until they get what they want, and right now, that's you. Stop!" Iya cried, flinging her hands into the air as if attempting to fend off the reality closing in around her. "Stop trying to protect me. Your protection was a lie. You think they'll let me live just because you finally decided to show up? I want to fight, but not without knowledge. What are we dealing with?" As the storm within her raged anguish, anger, and a fierce yearning for answers, I felt an internal crescendo, an overwhelming need to bridge the divide not just between Iya and her father, but to weave a fragile connection among the three of us, caught in this maelstrom of secrets. "We can figure this out together," I urged, my voice softer, imploring. "But we need the truth." Tomas stepped forward, his eyes darting between Iya and her father as if weighing the gravity of their moment against the danger encroaching at the periphery. "Iya's right. The longer we stand here, the more vulnerable we become. We need a plan. But just as resolution blossomed in our hearts, a distant siren tore through the night, echoing like a harbinger of doom, sinking claws into the edges of our hastily formed plans. The air thickened, heavy with time's fragile passage now tinged with urgency. As Iya looked back at her father, something flickered across her face, an emotion layered with hurt and longing. "I want the truth," she reiterated, her voice teetering on the edge of a precipice, raw and unyielding. "But first, we need to get away from here." "Follow me," her father said, nodding toward a narrow alley that seemed to beckon like a siren through the obscured danger of the night. "There's no more time." In that moment, the hesitance within her broke, and for the first time, her father extended his hand to her. A tethering gesture I thought she would refuse. But after a lengthy pause, she reached out, her fingers brushing against his, a jarring connection forged in years of absence and trepidation. Yet as we slipped into the shadows of the alley, a chilling realization settled in the pit of my stomach. Trust was a fragile thread, and Iya's choice to embrace her father's hand ignited an unforeseen potential for betrayal or deliverance. Behind us, chaos stirred, and just as we turned to plunge deeper into the dark, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed from the cafe, the kind that heralded the arrival of fate's own beasts. "Run!" Tomas shouted, urgency firing through his veins, pushing us forward. As our feet pounded against the concrete, Aya's face appeared at my side, determination carved into her features, a mirror of my own fears magnified. But deep within me, hope flickered at the edges of despair. Perhaps together we could turn the tide. The revelation of her father's existence felt like a preamble to an even graver truth. If her family's secrets ran deeper than even she could anticipate, we were not just running from the shadows of the past, but toward an unimaginable future I dreaded to uncover. And as Iya glanced back one last time, a mixture of hope and trepidation simmered in our chests. This was only the beginning of a story marked by sacrifices yet to come and secrets waiting to unfurl in the heart-stopping night. The alley swallowed us whole, a yawning darkness that felt alive with whispers and echoes of the past. I clutched Aya's arm tightly, the rhythm of our hurried breaths melding with the thud of our heartbeats. Tomas surged ahead, shattering the silence with his swift footsteps, leading us into the unknown. But as we dashed between the crumbling bricks, I couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked not only behind us but within the very core of our small group. "Iya, wait!" I urged, tugging her back slightly as we paused to catch our breath. "Are you sure you want to go with him? This is all so sudden." Her sharp gaze met mine, fierce and unwavering. "Trust is a luxury we can't afford right now. But I can't pretend he doesn't hold the answers I need. Besides, they've found us, and I need to know what that means for us." Her words, resolute yet tinged with fear, hung in the air, an unspoken admission that we were stepping deeper into a web of contention far more sinister than any of us had anticipated. The very fabric of our world was shifting, and with it, her father's sudden reappearance fabricating new layers of complexity. Tomas beckoned us, impatience creasing his brow. "They might have traced us already. We're losing time," he urged, and together with Iya, we stumbled after him, fear urging our legs to move faster. The alley eventually emptied into a quiet street that seemed eerily untouched, as if it were a mere ghost of the chaos we had left behind. The moonlight cast soft shadows, illuminating our path while adding a hint of serenity to the swirling storm within our hearts. But uncertainty loomed large. Were we truly safe? Or was this just another veil draped over the reality we were desperately trying to outrun? Where now? I questioned, stealing a glance at Iya, whose eyes shimmered with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. "Well, go to my old office," her father said, the weariness evident in his voice, strained yet steady. "From there, we can talk. I can explain who they are and why they're after you." A brittle silence enveloped us as his words sunk in. The call for explanation felt like an ever-present storm cloud, pooling over our heads, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash its torrents. Yet there was something about the way he spoke, a father's urgency pierced through the layers of estrangement that had built up over years. My instinct stirred, battling the impulse to trust. Tomas moved closer to Iya, protective, his stance firm. "Are we just going to walk into another trap? We can't forget he's the reason we're here in the first place." He abandoned you, Iya? I know, but I also know that I can't let my anger drown out the possibility of answers. Her voice held a note of defiance, echoing the steady chant of a warrior unmasking their fears. We continued down the street, every shadow feeling like it had eyes, every rustle resembling danger. I watched as Aya's expression shifted, her armor waning further with each step closer to her father. The memories of days wasted bulged at the edges of her confidence, glimmering like specters refusing to relent. As we approached her father's office, an unassuming brick building wedged between two others, there was a flicker of hope, potent yet dangerous, slinking through me. We needed to uncover the truth, yet the truth was a double-edged sword, and I wondered what wounds it would leave behind. Inside, the air was stale with the scent of old paper and dim lighting, assorted files forming intimidating stacks on every available surface. Her father gestured for us to sit around a small table that was barely cleared. It felt wrung, an air of deliberation punctuated by our shared tension. I know this isn't easy, he began, his voice trembling perceptibly as he looked at each of us, pausing for a heartbeat longer on Iya. But there are factions, groups who believe you carry something significant. Something that can change everything. The blaring terror from the past collided with our apprehension, the fragile safe haven we had found painted over in uncertainty. You mean they want Iya for the power she holds? I asked, trying to decipher the labyrinth of knowledge we were about to breach. Yes. He exhaled heavily, regret gnawing at his words. And they will stop at nothing to seize it from you, including using those you love against you. What are they? Iya asked, her voice steady yet tremoring with an underlying fear, the flickering candle of her courage rising but uncertain. Who are they? With a slight shake of his head, her father sighed deeply. They're part of a secret society, one that believes in controlling everything. His eyes swept over the stacks of files. I thought I had put an end to it long ago, but they've only grown. And now they have a personal vendetta against you. The weight of his admission settled around us like an oppressive fog, the silence pierced with a sudden metallic snap outside the office. A sparking crackle echoed through the room, and before we could even react, the door burst open. Get down! Tomas shouted, instinctively pushing Iya behind him, both of them bracing against the wall as my heart raced with the thundering pulsing of danger. Deafening chaos enveloped the air, muffled shouts and scuffling footsteps illustrating our sudden peril. I could feel the electrifying jolt of adrenaline fill the room, and as I turned to Iya, I caught her fearful gaze, which teetered on the edge of despair. Is this they? She whispered, clutching Tomas' arm as if he were her anchor in this storm. Get out of here! Her father yelled, urgency punctuating his tone, filled with a mix of protection and terror. I won't let them take you. You must run! But there was no escaping the impending arrival of the unknown, hurtling toward us like a freight train, cutting off all routes to safety. As we strained to comprehend the ominous shadows, hope flickered out, leaving only the dim outlines of what remained. Together, I urged, steeling myself against fear, even as the reality of our situation bore down upon us like a hammer. Well, face this together. But in that moment of defiance, a realization crashed over me. His precarious alliance was already fraying at the edges, and the threads of trust we had fought so hard to weave were now threatened by an unthinkable force intent on tearing us apart. And as the sounds of chaos surged ever closer, I couldn't help but wonder, would we emerge from this alive, or would the secrets that had bound us now become our greatest undoing? The chaos erupted around us like a tornado. While the din of footsteps and raised voices filled the narrow office, the weight of uncertainty bore down heavier than any careening threat. What had begun as a night shrouded in revelation and hope was quickly morphing into a living nightmare stitched together by fear. Run! Now! Her father shouted, urgency cracking through his voice, and Aya's grip tightened on Tomas, a mixture of terror and resolve glistening in her wide eyes. I felt the outside air beating against the walls, a reminder that the world we were fleeing was full of unknown perils, all waiting to ensnare us. I glanced at the stacks of papers, remnants of her father's fight against the shadowy world that had resurfaced with a vengeance. There were secrets buried in those files, clues that could change everything for us and for Iya. Wait! I shouted over the cacophony, my voice rising with a wild kind of desperation. We need to find the truth first. It could save us. Her father hesitated, torn between the instinctual pull of survival and the weight of his past failures. You'll risk everything to stay and look? He questioned, his expression wavering. Before I could reply, glass shattered, raining a storm of shards that sparkled like deadly confetti on the floor. Iya flinched, a quiet yelp escaping her lips, but in that moment of vulnerability, something clicked clarity amidst the chaos, urging me to act. Come with me, I urged, my heart pounding, a steady rhythm beneath the storm. If we can uncover what you know, we can turn this against them. Aya's gaze flicked between Tomas and her father, her resolve battling against the instinct to flee. Is that right? Will it change anything? Nothing is certain, I admitted quickly, adrenaline fueling my words. But knowing is power. And right now, that's the only thing that can get us out of this. Iya nodded, reloading her defiance. Then let's find it. Together. As we dove toward the nearest stack of files, instinct guiding our movements, the chaos erupted with a crash that reverberated through my bones. Shadows breached the doorway, instant darkness creeping across the room like a shroud. Tomas, still vigilant, stepped forward. I'll hold them off, he declared, his voice a flint of bravery igniting something fierce within the air. You too, find what you need. No. You can't. Iya cried, panic threading urgency into her tone. I can, he shot back, his eyes narrowing with determination. Just go. Now, Iya hesitated, torn with fear that rode heavily on her chest. In that instant, I saw the vulnerability beneath her fierce facade, a girl carrying the burden of the world on her shoulders. It ripped through something deep within me, lending me its own weight of responsibility. Tomas! I urged, my voice grating against the urgency, but time stretched on taut strings before ultimately snapping. Just go! He ordered once more, shoving us both toward the files. No time for goodbyes lingered in the air, each second pulsed with the threat that loomed just beyond the doorway. With shaky hands, Iya and I rifled through the papers littered across the table. Words leaped out at us, names and dates weaving together a tale darker than we could have imagined. Then, suddenly, Iya gasped. This was a list. Her voice trembled. A list of targets. People they're planning to come after. I peered closer as her small fingers ran over the names, anxiety twisting my gut tight. My own name was absent from the list, and yet, a primal fear wrapped around my heart. Iya was at the center of it all, and the realization pressed heavily against my chest. Look at this. She almost whispered, her finger landing on a name that struck like lightning. Sofia Venezia, leader of the faction. It says here she's been looking for me. For us. A thick shudder coursed through me. What do we do if they find this? Her eyes burned with renewed urgency. We need to destroy it. They can't know we have their plans. Suddenly, the door splintered as a boot crashed against it, sending shards scattering like whispered horrors through the air. Time quaked beneath the force of impending doom, and in that moment, realization crashed over me. There was only one way forward, and it meant we had to put everything on the line. Set the papers on fire, I said, my voice firm even as fear crept closer. We can't let them use this against us. Iya nodded, meeting my gaze with a flicker of the unyielding determination that had drawn us together in this storm. But as she pulled out a lighter from her bag, an ever-present relic of hope and resiliency suddenly clattered to the floor, falling from her trembling hand. And in that split second, the door burst open fully. Shadows poured into the room, and amid the chaos, a familiar face emerged holding a weapon that glinted ominously in the dim light. Iya! It was Sofia, her voice velvet and dangerous, a serpent coiling through our safe haven, eyes dancing over the chaos. Finally found you. The air crackled with tension, an electric shiver of realization settling over me like ice. Everything I had believed had flipped upside down. The storm had arrived, and we were standing at the eye of it. Aya's secret, our truths, and the fragile bond we'd fought to maintain were about to be put to the test. And in that defining moment, as despair clawed at the edges of my spirit, I could only hope we would emerge from that moment not only alive but irrevocably changed. But fate, painted in cruel strokes, had other devastating plans in store. Iya stood frozen, the weight of everything she had ever known crashing down upon her in that moment. Sophia's presence drained the air from the room, her confidence palpable as she took a step forward, the weapon glinting ominously under the dim bulbs. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum, and I could feel the tremor in Aya's hand where it grasped the lighter, the flicker of hope wavering as uncertainty flooded in. "You're not here to talk," Iya said, her voice steady yet laced with tension, as if she were trying to drown out the rush of anxiety swelling inside. "What do you want?" Sophia's lips curled into a cold smile, mischief dancing in her eyes. "You know why I'm here. You've become a liability, Iya. And I intend to fix that. By killing me?" I shot back, anger igniting my fear into a fiery resolve. "You have no idea what you're messing with." "Oh, but I do," she purred, tilting her head with a false sense of understanding. "You've been playing a dangerous game, and it's time to end it. Stop." Her father's voice boomed through the tension, a last-ditch effort to overshadow the chaos. "You don't have to do this, Sophia. You can still walk away." "Walk away?" Sophia laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You think you can just turn your back on this? You've been hiding her, but you want to protect her forever." Panic sliced through my mind as I realized the gravity of the situation. We were cornered, and Iya was at the center of a web that threatened to ensnare us all. I glanced quickly at Iya, desperately searching for any hint of a plan, a sign that we could escape this nightmare. But all I saw reflected was fear. Aya's eyes widened, and it felt like time slowed, as if the universe was preparing for a detonation. This was not just about Aya's father or the secrets of the past anymore. This was a battle for her very existence, a fight for freedom against the oppressive force of Sophia and the shadows that loomed over us. It was then that I remembered the files sprawled across the table, the names, the dates, all the pieces woven into a tapestry of conspiracies and hidden truths that could shatter at any moment. "Sophia!" Iya cried, her voice wavering now, but I could see her conviction ignite beneath the ashes of fear. "You don't know what you're doing! You don't understand how deep this goes." As if sensing her shift, the smile vanished from Sophia's face, replaced by an unsettling seriousness. "You think you have any power here? Your rebellion is meaningless." A surge of desperation fueled my resolve, pushing me forward. "What if we could turn the tide?" I suggested brightly, a flicker of defiance igniting in Aya's chest alongside my own. "What if we showed your organization what real power looks like? What if we exposed their secrets?" Sophia's brow furrowed slightly, a hint of uncertainty creeping into the corners of her confidence. "What are you saying?" In that critical moment, Iya and I exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between us that ignited a shared determination. "Let's work together, Sophia," Iya said, her voice unwavering now, each word pacing with strength. "We can bring down your organization from within. We can uncover the truth, and you can truly regain control." "No! Iya!" her father shouted, his desperate voice echoing through the air, but Iya didn't waver. "There's no other way," she replied, her hands steadying, fabricating her reckless courage. "If any of us are going to survive, we need to fight together." The silence hung in the air, radiating tension like an unseen force. But in that moment, I found an unexpected clarity threading through our tangled reality. This could be our chance for a new beginning, a ribbon of hope surging through the darkness that once felt insurmountable. Finally, Sophia's gaze softened, just a fraction, but the shift was palpable. "And you think I should trust you? After everything?" "We need a truce," I said, raising my hands in surrender, my heart racing as I sensed that our lives dangled by a thread. "You need us just as much as we need you. The fate of your organization and Aya's very life hang in the balance." As the last words slipped from my tongue, the weapon remained poised at our throats, but in the depths of Sophia's eyes, I saw a struggle, a flicker of vulnerability amid the hardship. Perhaps our audacity had reignited a spark within her, a memory of the girl she once chose to protect long ago, buried beneath layers of cold ambition. Finally, she lowered the weapon, taking a deep breath as recognition settled upon her features. "What's the plan?" At that very moment, Everything clicked into place. Though the path ahead was murky and fraught with treacherous dangers, we were no longer alone in the storm. The air felt heavy with an unspoken but palpable weight, a promise that this was more than a simple truce. It was a turning point. As our newfound alliance took form, I felt the threads of our destinies intertwining. Light that had flickered within every shadow began to set the stage for a new fight. In this unexpected union, Iya, her father, the stranger, Tomas, and even Sophia stood on the precipice of something unprecedented, a chance to rewrite our stories, to shatter the chains of the past, and emerge as warriors of truth and redemption. As we gathered our resolve, moving strategically toward a brighter future, I turned back to Iya. Knowing that together we would face whatever storms awaited us head on. We won't be afraid anymore, I promised, locking my gaze with hers, a newfound tenacity surging through me. With conviction radiating from every fiber of my being, I whispered the words I had wished for so long: the shadow of our past will not dictate our future. And with that, we stepped into the unknown, each step echoing with the fearlessness of hope, a collective heart beating against the darkness. The real battle was just beginning.